3 balls in one hand. Let's do it. Yeah, so I've been asked to do a tutorial about how to juggle 3 balls in one hand, which I'm going to now try to do. This is not a tutorial about how to do 6 balls. Logic would tell you that if you take what I say about how to do 3 in one hand, do the same thing in the other hand and put it together, then you'll have a 6-ball fountain. And that's true, very true in fact, but what I'm not going to get into in this tutorial is how to actually practice 6 balls. I'm going to stick with what I was originally asked to do, and that is how to do 3 in one hand. Alright, how to hold the props. Got to start with the basics here. I'm going to show you what I call the hand parallel to the floor approach. Okay, notice I'm going to do this. I'm going to hold my hand parallel to the floor. Alright, there it is. And I'm going to place the balls in this order. First one goes against the thumb. Okay. Next one right beside it. And then the third one goes right here. When I throw, I'll actually throw this one first. Okay, that would be this pinky one. Then I'll throw the ones with the index finger. And that leaves this one left behind, and I'll throw that one. I have seen some people that actually hold the balls for doing 3 in one hand like this, so that the hand is now perpendicular to the floor. And then they would hold the 3 balls like this and throw the one on top. I'm not going to talk about that method. I don't like it. I'm going to show you how to do it this way. Alright, so throwing 3 balls in one hand. Look, you could do a cascade in one hand, which is just this, but apply with one hand. And I guess that's fine if you never aspire to anything else. But, you know, if you're going to learn 3 balls in one hand, I highly recommend you do it using inside-outside circles. The fountain pattern looks like this. Alright? It's the same pattern that you used when you learned 2 in one hand. It's like this. Yeah, you'll want to do the same thing with 3. To really master a 3-ball inside-outside circle, it's really important that you have proper posture. You want to keep your body upright. I've always, in a lot of my tutorials, I talk about the importance of using your body, your muscles, your bone structure to help support what you're doing. And that certainly doesn't change when you're doing 3 in one hand. Upright posture, the first thing to do is master the flash. And you want to really concentrate on getting the 3 balls up and back into the same hand, nice clean catch, and you want to make sure that you've gotten that inside-outside circle. I imagine that my elbow is somewhat tied to my hip. Imagine that I have a string that attaches my elbow from here to my hip, and the string is about 2 inches long. That gives me some ability to move. If I keep that in mind, I notice that it keeps me from doing a lot of this kind of stuff. I think about it this way. I take my body, to sort of visually divide it in half, right side versus left side, and generally I want all the throws and catches to be on this area, in this area. If they start to cross over here, then I stop, regroup, and practice again. Another hint. I tend to look a little higher when I'm doing 3. So when I'm doing 3 in one hand. So that I actually take my gaze where I think the 3 are going to be, and I knock it back another inch. And I've noticed that as I do that, the props tend to float up a little higher. The throws tend to go a little higher. And that seems to be something that helps me a great deal too. As I'm throwing these, I'm looking to make sure that the balls are all going at relatively the same height. I'm looking to make sure that when the props land, that my hand is not having to move all over the place to catch each one. And I'm also trying to make sure that I'm keeping proper control of my body. A little bit of variance out here is probably okay, but if the throws are sometimes landing over here and then sometimes over here, all within the same run, that's a problem. I've talked about this before. When you're mastering 3 in 1 hand, there are some people who say, all right, well, get the flash down. Do that 10 times. When you can do that 10 times, then do 4 throws and catches. When you can do that 10 times, do 5, etc., etc. Always moving up 1 notch at a time. I think the best way to learn how to do 3 in 1 hand, or probably any trick, is to do the pyramid fashion. And what I mean by that is, I'll go ahead and do the flash of 3 in 1 hand. I'll do that like 10 times, so that's solid. But then I'll go right away for doing, say, 5, maybe 6 catches of the 3. I'll do 5 times in a row. And then maybe I'll end by trying to do 7 or 8 catches of the 3, but do it just once. If you do that method, I think it's a little more fun to practice that way, and you're giving your body a chance to sort of, and your brain, a chance to check out what it's going to be like when you try to run higher numbers. But notice I'm saying we're increasing by, say, 2 or 3 throws. I'm not going to start off by doing the flash of 3 10 times and then go to try to do 10 catches 4 or 5 times. I'm going from 3 to maybe 5 or 6 to maybe 7 or 8. That's just my preference. Be cautious about the whole turning in a circle sort of thing. If you're having to do that, then that means that you're throwing them too far actually to the back of you. A lot of people think that if they're going in a circle to get them, a lot of people think that that means that they're throwing them too far to the right. And that is partially true, but what you're really doing is that you're actually throwing them too far behind you. So you're doing more of this kind of thing, which is what's causing you to turn. So you want to be careful about that. They need to stay on one plane in front of your body, and they need to stay to the right. And of course, if you're doing the left hand, it needs to stay to the left, but also on that one plane. Okay? Same on the right hand side. That's really key. I notice when I do 3 in 1 hand that I tend to sometimes slip out a little bit like this. Well, if you can see right now, I got my shoulder forward. If you do that, if you start off in that position, then what happens is you're going to wind up kind of chasing these things forward. So, start standing up straight. If you notice yourself starting to slip, then go back to that and resume that proper posture. Yeah, I don't know what other kind of insights I can give to 3 in 1 hand. It just takes practice. It takes some effort, and of course the real key is going to be to do it consistently. But if you try to keep some of those things in mind, I think you'll find you'll have some success. Anyhow, as always, good luck, and thanks for asking me to do this, to make this tutorial.